Good morning, Canada. I got a feeling that it's going to be a wonderful day. The sun and the shine has a smile on the face and a shiny salute to the Canadian race. Oh boy, it's well to say good morning, USA. Now, good morning, USA. It's Patriots time, baby. You see the Patriots jersey, you see the number 12. It's time for my favorite team. I do the NFL, like I put a jersey on for my favorite team, my number one team in the sports baseball, basketball, football, and hockey. It's time to talk about the Patriots. And no, it's not a Patriots what if about what if Tom Brady were to win a Super Bowl and all that. No, despite the fact that the Patriots have 6 Super Bowls and all that, the Patriots song. That's why I went Patriots. The fact of the matter is, it's the one season that Tom Brady kind of missed in a New England uniform that kind of gets me going. And of course, the rule of thumb is any team that loses the Super Bowl finals is disqualified from the what if. I really want to do it like at least a 1 round what if. So anyhow, this is the story about the 2008 New England Patriots. And no, it's not the team that went 18-1. So get ready. I said, are you ready? Are you ready for some Cutter What If NFL football? A weekend invasion! Yeah, it's Cutter talking to you live. We got the hits and the misses. So come join me for all the fun. All the rowdy fans come in. It's the weekend, y'all. Are you ready? Yeah, let's do this, baby. Yes. So the story about the New England Patriots started off as the Patriots were an AFL or American Football League team. The Boston Patriots, yeah, they were called the Boston Patriots and played in Boston in Harvard Stadium and Fenway Park, among other things. The Boston Patriots weren't that bad. They had Gino Cappelletti, who had over 140 points in one season, which was a record for a while. He was a pretty good wide receiver slash kicker when you did double duties. New England didn't really have much of a quarterback in the AFL days, and were kind of also rans. There were such also rans that by the time they got into the merger of the AFL to the NFL, they actually had the number one pick in the 1971 draft and took this Stanford Hodge stuff quarterback by the name of Jim Plunkett. Unfortunately, Plunkett could not plunk the ball into Patriot arms and all that. And the Patriots decided to change the name from the Boston Patriots to the New England Patriots when they found a new stadium called Schaefer Stadium. Now called, well, used to be, now it's called Foxborough Stadium. So they had the Foxborough, Massachusetts to become the New England Patriots. So they were going to try to do geography and include like Maine, Rhode Island, and Vermont to love the Patriots and all that. Unfortunately, New England would not do so well. But in 1976, in the America's bicentennial, they pulled towards a good season. They actually had only lost a few games. They took on those pesky Oakland Raiders in the AFC divisional round. And unfortunately, a phantom roughing the passer call on Ray Sugarbear Hamilton helped the Raiders beat the Patriots, as the Patriots were looking like Super Bowl contenders. The Patriots would plod along with Steve Grogan at quarterback. And of course, Jim Plunkett was sent to San Francisco and then went to Oakland and twice came off the bench to help the Raiders make a Super Bowl appearance. Nevertheless, the New England Patriots were not really well taken. They had a couple of number one picks as well. They picked Irving Fryer, number one in 1984. In 1984, after he led Nebraska to a very close national championship, but they lost to Miami on the final play where they could have went for the tie, but they went for two and failed. And let's not forget about the recent death. Recent as in, of course, it's taping. When this is taped, it's been a week since Kenneth Sims died. He was the number one pick of the 1982 draft by the Patriots. Unfortunately for Sims, he wasn't much of a player. Injuries would ruin him. Nevertheless, the Patriots shocked a lot of people by going to the 1985-86 playoffs and shocking the Miami Dolphins in the Orange Bowl. to make it to the Super Bowl 20 against those pesky Chicago Bears. You know, the Super Bowl shuffling crew. And it didn't help matters that the Patriots were rocked 46-10 by the Bears. But the good news for Patriot fans was that it's not the biggest blowout and not the most points given up by a team in the Super Bowl. That would be to the San Francisco 49ers with that 55-10 blowout of the Denver Broncos in 1990. Nevertheless, the Patriots would plod along. They even brought Doug Flutie in for a few seasons, but they mishandled Flutie after the Bears mishandled them, then the Pats mishandled them, and Flutie decided, screw it, I'm going up north. So that's when Flutie decided to go to BC for 1 year and then spent the rest of his CFL career with Calgary and Toronto. So yeah, he was up and became one of the greatest Canadian football players, well, greatest CFLers of all time. And then, thanks to his shine of winning back-to-back Grey Cups, he went back to the NFL to play for Buffalo. Let's not forget that Doug Flutie's last NFL stop was with the Patriots as backup to Tom Brady. And yes, Doug Flutie did something magical. He actually drop kicked an extra point. So anyway, the Patriots would be a laughingstock by 1990. Victor Kiam bought the company and ran into the ground. They were 1-15. They had terrible coaching and all that. There were even rumors New England were going to sell to St. Louis. So the Patriots would be moving to St. Louis. But thankfully, Robert Kraft stopped that from happening and brought vitality to the New England area. It also helped that New England had the number one pick in the 1993 draft and took Drew Bledsoe in the draft, whereas Seattle took Rick Meyer. I think it was Seattle, right? Yeah, Rick Meyer and all that. But he failed miserably. But yeah, New England, Drew Bledsoe was huge. He had a 45 for 70 day in an overtime win against the Vikings in 94. That was actually the record for most completions and attempts by a quarterback at the time, I think. So yeah, Bledsoe came through, and the Patriots came through and made it to Super Bowl 31 against the Packers, but Desmond Howard's kickoff return for a touchdown sunk the Pats. The Patriots were off and on okay, but Bledsoe was starting to get hurt, especially in 2001 in week 2 in the game before, was it? Yeah, it was the game before September 11th that Bledsoe got rocked by Bo Lewis out of bounds. And that brought this fresh faced guy from Michigan, Tom Brady, who was the 6th quarterback drafted in the 2000 NFL class. So, anyhow, he came through, and somehow, in some way, he helped the Patriots win the division and get a AFC divisional round match against Oakland, called the Tuck Rule game for obvious reasons. Oakland thought they had won the game, but New England got in thanks to an unused tuck rule game that Brady was tucking the ball for it was throwing the ball for an incomplete pass instead of tucking it in for a run, which would have meant a fumble. It would have meant Oakland would have had the ball. Oakland cried foul. But let's not forget, Oakland fans, that Adam Vinatieri still had to kick two field goals through heavy snow, and there were no easy feats. The Patriots were going to shock Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh in the AFC title game to go to the Super Bowl against the the St. Louis Rams with their high power offense, the greatest show on turf. And the Rams tied it at 17. And then John Madden said that the Patriots were too deep in their own area and should play for overtime. But Pat Summerall so that now just a minute and all that. And Brady proved everyone right. Summerall right and Madden wrong. And Vinatieri kicked the field goal indoors through the pike. And then it was funny seeing Lonnie Paxton, one of the Patriots offensive guards, trying to do a snow angel in the New Orleans Superdome end zone. Nevertheless, the Patriots were the NFL champions, and then in 2003, the next season, they did do so well, but then they proved their worth, going back to back in 2004 and 2005 against 04 versus Panthers and 05 against the Eagles. The Panthers choked because John Casey just had kicked that ball out of bounds, which gave the Patriots perfect field position for Vinatieri's field goal. And then in '05, the Eagles had it, but Donovan McNabb was not feeling the greatest, and Terrell Owens was only playing his first game in God knows how many days. But yeah, he was injured prone. The Patriots' quest to three-peat were ruined by the Broncos in Denver in the 2006 playoffs. Then the Patriots made the playoffs and do so well in the '06-'07 season, and then '07-'08. The Patriots were supposed to be on the mountaintop. 16-0 regular season, first time that's ever been done before. Of course, in a 16-game season, then 72 Dolphins did it in 14 games in the regular season. The Pats had 16. The Pats did it. Unfortunately, a Cinderella run by the Giants culminated in them beating the Pats in the Super Bowl. They used the whole ball control thing, and Dr. C, Paul Zimmerman in the Sports Illustrated, I remember reading that article and basically swearing off Sports Illustrated for life. Because you could obviously know my reaction to that Patriots loss when they had Eli Manning good as gone and for a sack, but then he throws up a Hail Mary type throw, and David Tyree has the presence of mind to take the ball, stick it against his helmet to make sure Ronnie Harrison didn't do anything with the ball. And of course, Pascal Burris got the touchdown to win the game, and 18-1 happened. Of course, I'll talk about the 2008-09 Patriots in a minute, but the Patriots were decent. They made the playoffs, but they just couldn't get to the Super Bowl worth two craps. In 2015, they finally got to the Super Bowl and beat the Seahawks, even though the Seahawks nearly had the game open. Jermaine Kersey with that great acrobatic catch. And then they decided to pass at the one instead of giving Marshawn Lynch an easy touchdown, if you will. I wouldn't be upset if the Patriots had lost to the Seahawks. They deserved it. But then the Patriots came back in 2017. We're down 28-3. I actually turned off my TV and said, I just can't watch a blowout like this to one of my teams. So unfortunately, I missed the second half in which the Patriots made a massive comeback. But I did see it in overtime, and I saw the Pats win the Super Bowl. And in 2019, after our 2018 loss in the Philly special for the Eagles, 2019 the Rams and Pats were playing, and in one of the lowest scoring games ever, 13-3, the Pats beat the Rams and won a Super Bowl. Our sixth and final Super Bowl. Since then, the Pats have done nothing. Brady has left New England for Tampa and then retirement. And, we're trying to get through with Drake May and the upcoming draft where we will get the number 4 pick. Hopefully, Travis Hunter is available for the Pats. I would love to see Travis Hunter come to New England. But anyway, that's all I'm going to talk about with the New England Patriots. And let's talk about the 2008 season. All right, so the 2008 New England Patriots, it was their 39th season in the NFL and 49th overall. They were the defending AFC champions, losing the Super Bowl to the Giants, of course. They won 11 games, but they became the first 11-win team to fail to make the playoffs since the expansion of a 12-team playoff in 1990. Because the last team to win 11 games in the and missed the playoffs were the 1985 Broncos, which was shocking because they won 11 games, but there were only 5 teams in the playoffs instead of 6. If there was a 6th, the '85 Broncos would have made it in. Of course, they expanded to a 16-game regular season in 1978 and changed it to 2 wildcard teams that would face each other, one versus the other, to face the 1 seed if it's not in their own division. They were the first team since the 1935 Bears to go undefeated in the previous regular season and miss the playoffs the next season. Of course, the one big mistake was the season opener. Tom Brady suffered a torn ACL in the first quarter. It was his only significant injury of his entire career because the guy was amazing. Matt Castle would have to replace Brady. And in his first starts in high school, he actually beat the Jets. It was weird how Matt Castle, played for 14 seasons. Like Matt Castle played in the college football and wasn't even a starter. So of course, after they beat the Jets to go 2-0, they lost to the Dolphins, which meant their 21-game regular season winning streak was snapped. The Colts actually broke that mark in 2009. They actually had a 3-game winning streak headed to week 17. They didn't control their own destiny. They beat Buffalo earlier in the day, which was kind of a given in those days. But they needed either the Dolphins or Ravens to lose. If the Dolphins lost to the Jets, the Patriots would be the AFC East champions. If Baltimore lost, but Miami won, no matter. The Pats would have gone in as the sixth seed instead of those pesky Ravens. Unfortunately, Baltimore and Miami both won, which meant all three teams were eliminated 5. The Dolphins had a better conference record than the Patriots. Miami and the Patriots split their head-to-head split. How many? Same divisional record, and then they had to get the conference record. Miami won 8 games in the conference. The Pats only won 7. Baltimore also had a better conference record than the Patriots, 8-7. So that's why they got the 6th seed. And it was the first time in 6 seasons the Pats were out of the playoffs. Unfortunately, though, there were some problems off the field. Willie Andrews, a safety for the Pats, 2 days after the Super Bowl 42, was found arrested with half a pound of marijuana. He was ordered to pay a fine, speak to student athletes about the dangers of narcotics, and complete a substance abuse program. Worst of all was he was arrested again June 30th with unlawful possession of a firearm. Anyway, Willie Andrews would be released by the Patriots. Well, he had to be. Kevin Falk actually got in trouble with 4 marijuana cigarettes at a Lil Wayne concert in Louisiana. But he did pass a drug test and did not have to enter the substance abuse program. He was given a 5-month suspended jail term after pleading no contest to the charge and all that. He did get suspended for the first game of the 2008 regular season for a violation of the substance abuse policy. And then Nick Cassor was arrested in New York State, saying that he had OxyContin and all that. He was given a misdemeanor. And Cassor actually participated in a sting operation from the DEA, having a recording device and all that. There were some staff changes in a little bit. Departures. The Pats released Rosie Colvin, which was shocking, to say the least. Well, they failed postseason physicals. Kyle Brady, the tight end, was released at the start of free agency, also failing a physical. The Patriots declined a contract with Dante Stallworth, making him a free agent. Stallworth went to Cleveland. Asante Samuel went to Philly. Randall Gay went to New Orleans, and Eugene Wilson went to Tampa. However, the Patriots picked up some key members. They picked up Fernando Bryant at cornerback, Tank Williams at safety, Victor Hobson linebacker, tight end Marcus Pollard. Fortunately, they signed with Teddy Bruschi, Lonnie Paxton, Randy Moss, Jabbar Gaffney, and Peter Woods, among others. So the 2008 NFL draft, they would have had the number 31 pick, but they had to forfeit the pick because of that whole um, trouble. But the Patriots would trade the selection. Well, they picked up the number 7 pick from the Niners and all that, but for the a pick in 2007. But anyway, Jeremy Mayo was picked up from Tennessee, and yes, he was the head coach for the Pats for 1 year before being let go. Matt Slater, a wide receiver from UCLA, was picked in the 5th round and would be a better guy as a special teams captain. So by week 1, Tom Brady was the starting quarterback with Matt Castle in the backup role. Lamont Jordan, Lawrence Maroney, and Sammy Morris would do the running backs. Jabbar Gaffney, Randy Moss, Matthew Slater, Kelly Washington, and Wes Welker, the key wide receivers. Benjamin Watson, the best tight end, or other. Dan Connolly, Roch Husting, Nick Cassier, and Dan Coppin, Matt Light, and Logan Mankins, the offensive lineman of note. Defensive lineman Jarvis Green, Richard Seymour, Ty Warren, Phillips Wolfork. Linebackers Teddy Bruschi, Gary Guyton, Larry Izzo, Jared Mayo, Adarius Thomas, Mick Vrabel, and Pierre Woods. Ronnie Harrison, Ellis Hobbs, Brandon Merriweather, Delpha O'Neill, James Sanders, the key defensive backs. Special teams, Steven Gostkowski at kicker, Chris Hansen at punter. Kevin Falk, of course, had some problems. But anyway, week one, they beat the Chiefs 17-10. Unfortunately, though, Brady was hit in the lower leg by Bernard Pollard and was put on the IR with a torn ACL and MCL. So, yeah, week 17, they won 13-0 against the Bills, which was great and all that. They only passed the ball. They only attempted a pass 8 times, the second fewest in franchise history. The only time they passed less than 8 times was 1982 in the famous snowplow game. Anyway, they put up 57 penalties, the fewest in a 16-game season in history. Unfortunately, Miami and Baltimore both won their late games. Miami's was the one that hurt the most because the Jets were looking good with Brett Favre. Unfortunately, Favre played through injury instead of resting. He played through it, and it cost the Jets dearly, especially with the fact that Chad Pennington was the Miami quarterback, and that's the guy that the Jets released to get Brett Favre. So basically, it was a massive revenge thing, and the Pats were upset. The Dolphins did that. That would actually be the last time the Pats would miss the playoffs till 2020, the COVID season. So anyway, yeah, 11-5. So the Titans were number one, Pitt number two. So they got buys in the to the divisional round. Miami and San Diego, by winning their divisions, had to play. They had to play home games as wildcard teams. Indy and Baltimore were the two teams that had to face off. All that. The Patriots were 11-5, but just could not make the playoffs because their damn conference record just ruined them. They just had to lose all 5 games in the to conference opponents. Nevertheless, but let's not forget that the AFC playoffs in 2008 were also crazy because the Chargers won their last 4 games and the Broncos lost the last 3. The Broncos, all they needed to do was win one of the last 3 games. They were the division champs, and the Chargers would have no chance. But they choked that playoff and all that. Breakdown and all that. Yeah. They were better on the road than at home, which was weird and all that. So yeah, so the Patriots there. So instead of giving the Patriots the division, I figured that Miami would have beat the Jets because Favre played through his injury and Pennington would get revenge. So I'm going to put the Patriots as the 6th seed to face the Dolphins in the playoffs. So as you can see, we have ourselves the 2008 Patriots would face the 2008 Dolphins in the playoffs in Miami. I know I could also like put the Patriots at number 3 and all that ahead of the Dolphins, but I doubt that highly because of the fact that I have to play through Brady's injury. When I did the Dolphins in '93, the team that went 9-2 and still missed the playoffs by losing the last 5 games, even though they got hosed in the final game because no instant replay happened. I have to play through. I had to put Marino on the bench for the '93 Dolphins and start Scott Mitchell. So the 2008 Patriots will have to have Matt Castle at quarterback. I'm going to partially cheat and want Tom Brady to be quarterback and see if the Pats would have done something. So anyway, let's play the game with Castle. Yeah, this is with Castle. The Patriots went for a 45-yard field goal, but it's wide left. But Pennington got picked up by Delphine O'Neal. Gostkowski hits a field goal to make it 3-0. There were a lot of penalties and all that. So the second quarter starts. Miami goes for a punt, but gets blocked by the Pats at their 43. Then Gostkowski kicked the field goal to make it 6-0. And then Kevin Falk ran the ball 22 yards up the gut to make it 13-0. And then Sammy Morris gets a touchdown to make it 20-0. So the Pats were crushing Miami into fine powder. They go for 3 and get it. The Dolphins 20-3. And then in the third quarter, that stadium has to be wrong because it wasn't at the Orange Bowl. It was at Sun Life. Nevertheless, I don't know what, I guess they screwed up. Nevertheless, so Miami got a touchdown as Chad Pennington to Devon Best made it 20-10. Carpenter kicked the field goal to make it 20-13. Then the Patriots pounded up the gut for the 2-minute warning and got a touchdown by Sammy Morris to make it 27-13. The Dolphins do get a touchdown with 6 seconds left, but the game's over. The Pats beat the Dolphins 27-20. As Sammy Morris comes out of his shell to pick up a couple touchdowns and take out the Dolphins. So anyhow, efficiency, New England was 4 for 11, the Dolphins 9 for 16. Running yards 231, 118. So the Patriots ran the ball up the gut. Passing yards were the Dolphins. Ronnie Brown 56 yards for Miami. Lamont Jordan put up 109 yards, but he didn't get the touchdown. Sammy Morris did. 2 of them. Castle only went 11 for 17, 172 with an interception. Pennington 18 for 27, 232, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Ellis Hobbs and Devil O'Neal with the interceptions for the Pats, and Jason Allen for the Dolphins with the field goal. The pick. Gostkowski from 31 and 46, missed from 45, covered at 46 and 32. So now I got to figure out how that playoffs started. So the Patriots, as the 6th seed, would face the 2008 Titans at the 1 seed. Well, the 6th seed Ravens actually did beat the 3 seed Dolphins anyhow. So the Patriots would have faced the Titans as is. So let's see if that happens. And doesn't. I've been told it doesn't. Well, anyway, the Titans went first, had to punt. Pats had punt. Rob from 48 yards made it 3-0. Gostkowski kicked the field goal to tie her up at 3-0. Second quarter, a lot of points. Rob for a field goal, and then New England punts, but on 3rd and 8, Collins with a nice throw to Justin Gage for a touchdown after a nice punt return to the 19 of the Patriots. But then the Patriots get a kickoff return touchdown to make it 13-10. But nothing happens. Barones kicks the field goal to make it 16-10, and then Gostkowski field goal 16-13. And then at the end of the quarter, Barones makes it good 19-13. The third quarter, the Pats go first, but they punt. But Kevin Falk gets a touchdown, 42 yards to make it 20-19 after the extra point. Barones made a field goal 22-20. And then Collins to Gage for a touchdown made it 28-20. They go for the extra point, make it 29. Gostkowski kicks a field goal 29-23, but Tennessee runs the ball 7 plays, 52 yards to the 2-minute warning and kick a field goal to make it 32-23. So the Pats were in trouble and they couldn't do anything about it. So the Titans would have beaten the Patriots and all that and faced those pesky Pittsburgh Steelers. So we'll play as is and say that the Pittsburgh Steelers would have won these. Titans would have lost to the Steelers as is, and the Steelers would have won the Super Bowl. So a lot of things. Yeah, kickoff return for a touchdown, but Justin Gage was the hero. Patriots 4 for 15 from efficiency. Titans 4 for 13. Rushing 209, 151 for the Titans, and passing yards was there. Kevin Fox 62, running yards. Chris Johnson goes 129, goes off on a tangent. Castle 13 for 18, 150. Vince Young 3 for 2 passes. Collins 14 for 27, 162, 2 touchdowns. Barones from 48, 49, 25, 21, 46, 38. So 6 field goals against New England's 3. So the Patriots would have been screwed. I think they would have lost to the Titans somehow. I think that Brady would not have won the Super Bowl that year. It would have been nice to go back to the Super Bowl, but I think the Steelers should get some credit where credit's due. And that's all I'm going to say about it. So I'm still a Patriots fan, but still, what if Tom Brady had done it? I don't know. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.